Hello.
Solo Q.
Welcome to your World of Warcraft Wrapped for 2024.
Oh, cool. Here we go.
In this year that saw the launch of The War Within, you spent 283 gold on flight paths. You spent 24,562 gold on transmog.
Okay.
You used a Britosaur mount 17 times without spending money to buy your own.
Hey.
And your playtime was 17 days, 11 hours, and 42 minutes. That much, and still all that complaining on your podcast about your busy life schedule?
What?
It doesn't help that you spent 18 hours and 7 minutes AFK.
Hey, I'm sure I was doing something important.
Let's look at your conquests in 2024. You killed 0 bosses in Nerebar Palace. Your highest mythic plus key was 0. 0? Are you even trying?
Oh, come on. So that's not even nice.
You spent 12,560 gold on repairs.
Uh-huh.
How did you spend so much without raiding? You are not very good at this game.
Who even told you to say this?
In the past 12 months, you created 4 new characters, bringing you to a total of 64. Why? Because you didn't already have enough characters to play?
Yeah, well, maybe...
Because you needed a 7th hunter and a 5th monk?
Okay, fine.
Your characters gained 1,007 levels of experience. Well, I suppose that is mildly impressive.
Well, thank you.
You answered, wait, is this right? You answered 1,974 anniversary trivia questions?
Indeed, I have.
Really? Do you have a life?
Oh, come on.
Sorry. I'm sure you are having a good time. This has been your World of Warcraft Wrapped for 2024. As always, Blizzard thanks you for playing the game, regardless of how you play it. Happy Winter Veil, and we will see you in Azeroth.
You have entered the Solo Queue, a monthly podcast about adventuring alone in the world of Warcraft. Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Gagne. Well, where better to begin this final episode of 2024 than in Winter Spring, where the very first Solo Q episode launched a little over a year ago. And what better place to enjoy winter and Winter Veil than here in the calm and the peace? Hey, welcome to Solo Q episode 17, the final episode of 2024. Kind of the last episode of maybe this chapter of Solo Q. Got some changes that I'm thinking about. We got a big show today. Lots of stuff to cover. It's actually been a little bit since I've been on the microphone with you. We talked to Josh Allen, aka Devilor, last month. Fantastic interview. I really enjoyed talking to him. It seems like forever ago, and it seems like double forever since we've had a regular episode. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Talk about some plans for the show going into this new year of 2025. We've got things to talk about. The Siren Isle has launched. 2 big holidays are coming to a close here in the next week or so. We've got a raid of the month, and of course, it's New Year's. New Year's is coming. The new year, always a good time in Azeroth or in real life for pausing, reflecting, thinking about how things are going in your life, in your podcast, what have you. And thinking about some changes, thinking about things that are working, things that are not. I will spare you the tale of the unholy trinity of distraction, perfectionism, and imposter syndrome that have such an effect on me getting to this recording microphone and coming and talking to you. I'll save you all of that, but I'm here, and actually I think part of the answer to that is going to be recording a little bit more often. Part of the changes I'm thinking about. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. Lots to do, but I want to squeak one more thing into this little welcome segment before we kind of get into the regular part of the show. It's something that happened this morning, actually, a little chain of events that happened this morning. And I didn't know where else to stick it in the show, so I'm just going to do it right here. I've made the change over to Blue Sky. I'm not on Twitter very often. I'm not on Blue Sky a ton either. I'm trying to not go crazy with social media, as probably we all should. But Blue Sky is a kind of a fresh start. Twitter has been very strange. A lot of content producers have switched over to Blue Sky. I don't love supporting Twitter and the people who own it. So, I'm going to keep posting there for people who are there camped out and don't mind that. And that's fine. I'm trying to do more of my conversing on Blue Sky, but enough about that. Well, the point is, it's been interesting kind of starting fresh and a lot of people making that move over. And at the beginning, a couple months ago, well, kind of with the election, I had a huge increase in followers. Like all of a sudden people were just pouring in. And at the start, I was just following everybody. Like, okay, I'll just follow everybody back, try and get this thing going, try and build some momentum. And of course that started to slow down, as people got settled in, whatever. And at that point I started not just automatically following everybody. I don't need to keep track of everybody's stuff. So I've started being, judicious and checking people out. And the other day, I had a new follower named Larry. Larry came up on my phone as a new follower. So like a day later, I hopped in, took a look at his profile, and Larry does film and commercial media work. And, wasn't any more specific than that, but seemed kind of interesting. And among his posts, he had recently reposted links to the first 2 episodes of a show that he created. It's an animated short episode, kind of a show. It's the start of a show called 4 Tanks and a Healer. And you might be able to figure this out. There are basically 5 main characters, and it is a show set inside of an MMORPG. And it was fantastic. It was really good. It was a lot of fun. It was well done. I really enjoyed the writing. The writing of the episodes was really good. The voices were super solid. The animation was fantastic. I maybe I'm just amazed by animation and how much work I know must go into that. So I appreciated that a lot, and I think you should check it out. But here's sort of what happened with the story from there. While I was doing all of that, this morning, I was trying to get dressed. And so found Larry's thing out of nowhere. I was like, oh yeah, check these out. And so I'm watching on my phone as I'm trying to get ready, trying to get dressed. And at some point, I had to get the dog walked to get outside. And so as I'm doing it, I'm, pulling a shirt over my head or, doing whatever. And the video ends, the second episode ends, and I couldn't hit stop. And YouTube, it takes every opportunity to suggest something else to you. So it rolled up into some other video. And I noticed it was from the channel Stormwind University. And it was a video on the history of Dunmoreau. And I thought, okay, this will be a couple minutes and some game footage, and what possibly else could there be about Dunmoreau? Great zone, fun, dwarves, okay. So I kept watching, and it was so much more than that. It was so much better than I expected. I think the video went on for 20 something minutes, and it was an absolute deep dive into basically everything that's current in the game. It was fascinating. We're diving into World Soul and Titans and the Earthen, and of course in this zone, dwarves and the gnomes. They described history from all 4 wars. Every single bit of Azerothian history involved. It was fascinating. I loved this video. And at this point, 20, I think it was like 25 minutes or something. At this point, I'm now outside walking the dog. It's really cold. It was like 11 degrees this morning outside the Solo Q headquarters, and I had my mittens on. Very hard to hold the phone with mittens and the dog leash, and I could only find the extra long dog leash, so I'm trying to do that with two hands and hold the phone, and lo and behold, the video comes to an end after thoroughly enjoying it, and I can't stop YouTube from playing the next one. The next one is by Garrison Library, a channel that I've meant to check out. I just never have had a chance. And so, hey, I roll with it. And this topic was all of the different ways of being immortal in Azeroth. Fumbling with my phone and the dog leash and the 11-degree sunny temperatures. And the Garrison Library people went through undead and death knights and demon hunters and demons and various mages and night elves, immortal until they weren't, and trolls, sort of, and a bunch of others. Again, it was so much more than I was expecting. It was fascinating, really. And it was a reminder, these two videos, and actually 3 videos with Larry's, they were a reminder of 2 things for me. First, there is so much more story to WoW than we sometimes get in game, and sometimes we get to experience in game. And, that may be a bummer. And I know some people are critical of the game for that, and I understand, but there is a reality to things. Like, if they want to make a game that is playable for, more than 2 or 3% of current subscribers, they need to put out a game that isn't just bogged down in story or cutscenes or long dialogues. And so, of course, we have the books, the novels, the short stories, the comic books. There's a lot of in-game stuff that is either optional and you can click through, or, hey, it's 20 years, right? It's easy to forget some of the things that we have seen. So there's so much story. And yes, it doesn't feel completely put together in game. And frankly, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a bit when we talk about Siren Isle. But it is there. It does exist. The second thing this reminded me of is there are so many interesting content creators out there, even right now. I know those ranks have trimmed a little bit in past years as the game sort of, went through a down period a bit. And certainly on the podcast side, we lost a lot of podcasts in the last few years. But as, myself, someone making a podcast with the goal of sounding rich and full, I really appreciate YouTube video content that has the same goal. And I know that's way more complicated with video. Audio is one thing, but video is literally another. So having something that is keeping your attention and exciting and does have that richness, that again, kind of like the animation thing, I'm impressed by that. I know how much hard work goes into that. So, hey, both of these channels, Stormwind University and the Garrison Library, both of them get a thumbs up from me. And so another way that you can play this game without even logging in is to dive into some of these creators, especially if you're someone who is really into the story of Warcraft. And I realized at the end of this, as I got back to the house, got my mittens off, and I was able to not dive into whatever was next. I think it was another Garrison Library video that I didn't have time for because I had to get somewhere. But I realized that here I was doing other stuff, but enjoying Warcraft. I was being entertained by the Warcraft universe. And I had this feeling that this is the way to beat back that criticism that people always have about Blizzard's ability to tell the story in-game in a meaningful way, in a full way. Why do I have to go outside? Why do I have to get something somewhere else? Again, it may or may not be true, and you may or may not share that opinion, but watching others put these things together outside of the game is another example of the community coming together to improve the Warcraft universe and really flesh it out. It feels similar to the Addon community. You know, add-ons, the creators are crafting ways to take what Blizzard has created and make it more playable and more enjoyable. Content creators who are putting out the story bits and the history together in new ways is a fun way for me to be entertained by Warcraft even when I'm not in the game. So, hey, check some of them out. I think starting with these two, Stormwind University channel on YouTube and the Carries On library, tons of history topics, tons of different ways to approach the story and the lore of the game. But hey, also go find 25 minutes in your life and watch Larry's 2 episodes of 4 Tanks and a Healer. I'm sure if you search it on YouTube, you find it. I'll throw a link into the show notes. And then you have to go into the show notes and find the link. But yeah. What else did I do in and around the Warcraft universe since I last chatted with you in episode 15? Well, kind of a lot and not a lot at the same time. So let's get into that.
And what have you done lately?
Indeed, what have I done lately? Like I said, both a lot and not a lot. A bunch of the numbers that are in the intro are correct or close to correct, and that kind of gives you the hint of what I've been up to. Some of them are a little bit made up. Flight paths and transmog and time played, I guessed on all of those. I mean, I might be close, I might not. Time played was a reasonable guesstimate based on the kind of year I had and kind of estimates of previous years. It's probably close-ish. The number of levels was exactly correct as of December 15th. And while, 1,000 something levels might seem impressive, which I think it is, remember that's over 64 characters doing various things through this kind of special year, actually, with the extended anniversary, which is still going on, and with a pretty prosperous pre-patch event to the War Within. The number of trivia questions was a calculated estimate based on the number of characters I've been doing this with. And so, 1,974. It's well over 2,000 at this point. Again, goes up by like 42 every single day. That's the big thing I've been doing in-game, is trivia. The anniversary trivia, I think I may have lost my mind. I think when we last spoke, I was only doing 20 low-level characters. At some point, I realized, you know what? Let's bring in the other. At the time, it was like 26 other characters. I left a bunch. Basically, if they were already at 70, I didn't touch them. Everybody else was getting some trivia. And so, I think at the max, I was doing 46 characters. And after realizing that I could run so many people through, I remember the second big thing was they made the change to make the anniversary area a sanctuary. So you would no longer be killed in trivia if you were in war mode. So I could go back to putting war mode on for another 10%. So anybody who survived that still had their buffs from before. And it also made sense to get 4 more characters up to level 80. Because, as you may know, for every character at level 80, you get a 5% leveling bonus across your warband up to 5 characters. So if you have 5 characters that are max level, all of your other characters are now getting 25% additional experience. automatically. So that was my big task. Okay, how quickly can I run 4 more characters up to 80? That was a lot of fun. Still have not done all the quests. See my conversations in the past about questing and XP and how to balance that. And so after that, yeah, it made a lot of sense because I realized that every character below level 70 is getting basically a third of a level per day by doing trivia. Even 70 to 80, those characters are getting roughly 1/8 of a level. So here's what it looks like. I have 42 right now because some of them graduated to level 80, but I'm running 42 characters through there. They're all getting 20% from the anniversary events. So the free 10% and then the 10% for doing the activities. That gets you another 20%. That buff lasts for 12 hours, which is forever for people who are in the game for 10 to 20 seconds, 30 seconds a day. They're getting 25% from the warband bonus that I just mentioned. They're all getting 10% from war mode. All of them are getting 10% from Dark Moon Fair. Anybody who got murdered in war mode and lost their buff, when December Dark Moon Fair came around, I ran them all through there. It was really pretty quick. It was really fast and very much worth it. And about 20 of them are still getting the 10% from the 2-hour buff from the Wicker Man from is it Harvest Festival? So that's still around. And so if they have that, they're getting 75%. If not, they're getting 65%. That's pretty good. Additional XP. So like I said, a third of a level a day. So I'm basically hitting 13 or so levels per day, roughly. So yeah, definitely worth doing this. And I know I said before, but I don't know why. This is super nerdy, but I enjoy this little game. Those 42 characters take about 25 minutes now. That's one episode, less than one episode of Emily in Paris, which my wife and I did get to the end of. So, we can move on to other half-hour episodes of engaging television. But yeah, it does not take long. And some days that's about all the time I have anyway. So yeah, it's been good. The interesting thing about playing all of these characters is even for just a few seconds a day, I like them. I like them. I like playing them. It makes me want to play them more. Most of them have their own transmog, so they're, unique in some way. They all have names that are super interesting or meaningful, with maybe one exception. But hopping in there, I have playing history with many of them. Some of them have not spent much time in game, but they've basically just done trivia. But yeah, it gets me excited for the stories in their heads and things like that. It gets my little brain running. So it's nice to visit with the characters that I don't often play. And oddly enough, this year, because of the way things work out, I'll have played every one of my 64 characters through, at some point in the year. And that's not always true every year. So kind of exciting. Speaking of characters, one of the other things I got up to, making my 2 Earthen characters. One's Horde, one's Alliance, of course. One is male, one is female, so I still have one of every race and gender combo and on each side of the Horde and Alliance, keeping that streak alive. Of course, at 64, I'm perilously close to the cap of 65 playable characters, so if there are going to be any new playable races in the near future, I'm going to need some more slots from Blizzard, please. I do have a random Kultiran warrior that is sitting at level 20 that I thought I needed to make a while back. Not sure that I do, don't tell him that, but I could sacrifice him to the the cap if I need some space. Another thing I did since we talked, and actually it's been a while, I did my monthly inventory. Every 15th of every month, I try and go through all my characters to update my little spreadsheet that tracks all the levels and all of the, accomplishments, who's on what server, all of that stuff. There's an episode in the future somewhere when I talk about how I keep track of everybody. But I had missed a couple months. I had missed 2 months before that, so I think September may have been the last time I did it. October, November, yeah, that makes sense. So, yep, that took a little while, but I log into every character, we get everything into the add-on Altoholic, and once you've logged into that character on that computer, Altoholic can spit out some, all the gold you have, all the levels you have, all the time played you have, lots and lots of things. It's a great add-on. I think I've mentioned it before. It was not working for a while, for a couple months, maybe even longer. There was some drama with the creator and other people, and I got bored and stopped paying attention, and I reinstalled it not that long ago, and it is working fine. So Altoholic, highly recommended. Otherwise, in-game, I've just been trying to knock out a bunch of those weekly quests in Dornegal to keep gearing up those 5 level 80s. So, nothing too crazy. A bunch of world quests, a few delves, a handful of follower dungeons, turning in the Titan artifact bits, doing the daily trivia, rinse, repeat. Not a lot. I still haven't caught up on Lore Master questing. I have not done all of the dungeons yet, but yeah. The last thing on my list of things I've done, I finally did these last couple of days get into the Siren Isle, the 11.0.7 patch. This was sort of the carrot dangling on the stick for getting through my school semester and then getting through Christmas shopping and then all the holiday fun. And now it's slowed down and I finally had a chance to get in there. And kind of that was, one of the big things holding up this episode was I can't really do an episode if I haven't been to the new content and talk about it. So I have finally gotten to it. And we can talk about what it is, what I'm thinking of it, and what is to come in the next few weeks. Get a few more weeks of Siren Isle. As you've probably heard already, Siren Isle is the main content for the 11.0.7 patch. And, I think if you pay any attention at all to anybody commenting on the game, you've probably heard the criticism that Siren Isle is pretty similar to previous 0.7 patches, including the Forbidden Reach from Dragonflight. And, there's a lot of similarities. It's a new zone, relatively small contained zone. It is not exactly in line with the story. That's not to say that it's a complete tangent, but there's not a lot of main story content there. You're not moving the story forward. They're saving that for the 11.1 patch that's coming up in February. So if you don't ever go to the Siren Isle, you're not really missing out as far as main story. It is an island that is mysteriously not even really on the map. We're not really sure where it is, even though we hop in a Zeppelin to get there. So in theory, we could pay attention which direction we're going, but maybe they blindfolded us and I didn't notice. Essentially, you get to the Siren Isle, and it's a lot like these other patches where you've got a lot of rares, you've got a lot of mobs, you run around, you kill stuff, you do some questing along the way, you fill out people's orders for this and for that, and you're essentially collecting to get various transmogs, to get a couple mounts, to get some extra stuff. It feels like kind of exactly what it is. It feels like Blizzard saying, hey, we're working on the next big thing, but here's a little something to tide you over until then. And in that way, it's fine. It doesn't have to be amazing, because that's not the goal. The bigger, the better stuff is coming, the more amazing stuff is coming. We just need to be patient. It's almost like they're saying, hey, would you rather do nothing and we just, go work on other stuff? Or do you want a little something to tide you over? Because dinner's not ready yet, and I know you're hungry. So here you go. And again, for that reason, I think it's fine. I didn't love I spent a couple hours in Siren Isle. I just did this the other day, so I just got caught up. We're coming on to the second week, the end of the second week. As I record this, it's December 27th, so, a few more days before reset. But essentially the way this is set up is you are getting a ring. The neat thing about the ring is, for the first time, a ring will be visible as a wearable item, so you'll see it on the person. That said, everyone's wearing the same ring, so okay. But it seems to be maybe a proof of concept for the future. The ring is a lot like the Onyx amulet from the Dragonflight 0.7. It is an item that you can then upgrade with little pieces that you add to it. In this case, these citrine pieces are added to the ring, and they each have different powers. Some of the powers are specific, some add damage, some add healing, some just boost your secondary stats. So there's a few different options. Each of the 3 slots has 4 different options, and you kind of roll around the island, do things, and you're getting these citrines. You're getting these citrines with their different powers, collecting them, and just swap them in and out as needed, as you desire, whichever thing fits your playstyle. The ring itself gets upgraded, and I think the numbers are a little off from what was reported on the PTR. When I hopped in the other day, the ring started at eye level 639, and I have upgraded it twice to 645. Is that right? I think that's right. The way the rollout is set up is every week there is a particular quest that will earn you a piece of something that you can use to upgrade the ring's eye level. So over the 6-week rollout, you're going to get, I believe, 6 upgrades. And what does that put it up to in the end? Let's see, quick math, 3 times 12, 45, 57, maybe 657 it ends up by the end of the 6 weeks. And the clock doesn't start when you hop in. It starts, from the launch on December 17th. So each week it's possible to get that little upgrade item by doing chores and things and killing rares. I hopped in, I got 2 of them because we're 2 weeks in, so hence the 2 upgrades. So you could, wait till the end, hop in and essentially collect all 6 and just upgrade the thing if you want. This way it's something to do, you keep going in. And of course you're getting a currency for doing all this stuff, both for the quests and for the mobs and from treasure things. And that is the currency that's going to get you a mount. It's going to get you various transmog. It's, there's a lot. The mount is like 10,000. The currency that you get is 2 for a bunch of mobs, a little bit more for the rares. The quests give you some. I think after those few hours of play, I have a little over 2,000. That's, a fifth of the way there to the mount if that's what I'm going to focus on. But there's a lot of other stuff too. So, we'll see. We'll see if that earning rate gets bumped up at all. I don't know if it will. The 6 weeks does take us right up to the launch date for 11.1. So this is not a place that you're going to be in forever. And frankly, if the collectibles aren't your jam, you don't even really need to be here. Getting the ring, doing enough stuff to upgrade it should take you a couple hours at the most, even if you save it for that week 6. get in, get out, get your ring, and move on, that's probably not a bad idea. One of the big things is kind of I think I had two bits of feedback on the whole Siren Isle thing. The first is related to one of the central features of the island, and that's these 3 caves. There are 3, the story is there are 3 factions on the island. There is the Arathi, the Earthen, and the Goblins, and all 3 of them are there to pursue this crystal. Crystal is kind of like Belladar, and I guess in some way we're getting closer to Xalatath. I'll talk about that in a moment. But essentially they each have a cave, and every now and then the cave opens up and everyone can run in and kill the rare that's inside the cave. It's like a little mini boss fight, like a little mini world boss, and you get some stuff. You get chance at loot, you get some chance at some of these upgrade items, and you obviously collect the currency as well. The very first thing this reminded me of was going all the way back to Legion and the Broken Isles. I assume it's the 0.7 patch there too. I don't actually remember, but is where the Mage Tower came in. And remember those days of collecting the currency, and then you donate. Essentially you donate, make contributions of that currency to the group in one of 3 directions. You were either contributing to the Mage Tower or to other useless things that no one remembers. And I don't remember what they were. This is similar on the Broken Isles. Those contributions, if I remember right, they took like days. People would contribute for, I don't know, a day, a couple days. It was a little long time. And you could see, oh, hey, this one's at 70%. Maybe it'll be open tomorrow. And then if the Mage Tower was open, you could go run Mage Tower things. If the other 2 were open, I honestly don't remember what the heck they did. So there you go. This is similar in that there's a table in the main little hub, and there's, contributions. And the difference is these things take minutes, not days. I went to contribute because one of the quests is, hey, make 10 contributions to progress the story. And I went to the table and all 3 things were full. I was like, okay. But one of them was completed full. So I had to wait for it to sort of reset. And then when I did, people just threw contributions at it. And I think I got like 3 before the whole thing filled back up. I was like, oh, great. So I need to sit here and wait for another one to open up. So it's very fast. The contributions are quick. And what that means is every time a contribution thing hits 100%, that cave opens up or has the ability to open up. Someone has to go and sort of kick the event off, and then it's got a 2-minute timer. The timer at the end, your rare scanner should pop and tell you that, oh, hey, the such and such is opening. Okay, great. Head over. You wait. At the end of the 2 minutes, the cave opens up. You go in. I think I've done all 3. I know I've done 2. I think that it might be a 3rd that I just didn't get to. And part of the reason that I don't really know is that the caves all feel kind of samey and a bit generic. And I know the 2 that I can think of, the fights were different. Like, they weren't exactly the same, but the idea is so similar that I guess I didn't really take away a lot from it. The other part that's a little bit annoying about these 3 caves is they're basically constantly open. As you're wandering around the island, maybe doing other quests or just, collecting things, those things pop every couple minutes. Oh, this cave's open. Oh, that cave's open. Oh, that one's open again. Oh. And it feels a little bit lame, and it feels a little bit immersion breaking. Like, if this is such a big deal, and I get it. This is the thing. yeah, it's immersion breaking, but okay. Do we want to wait 2, 3, 4 days for the Mage Tower to open up? No, that's not the idea. And I realize it's different. It struck me that I should just get over this because think of it this way. When you wander anywhere in this world and you kill a couple mobs, you kill a pack of mobs, you stand there long enough and they'll just respawn. Like, but I killed these in this world and they're gone. Why did they come back? And I think most of the time are able to suspend our disbelief with that. Like, okay, that's how the world works. Fine, move on. This is kind of the same thing in that, is it weird that these caves open every, maybe every 10 minutes? And is that breaking the immersion into this story? Yes, absolutely. But should I be able to suspend my disbelief and just go along with it? Yeah, I should. And I'll work on that. But, in this first round of playing on the island, that just felt weird. So, maybe I'm taking it too seriously, which is probably very true. You can do them multiple times, and I think that's why I've done like 6 boss fight things, and there might still be one of the 3 caves I haven't been in, because you can. You can do these multiple times. I don't know if there's today, first time, you get this reward, and then everything after is different. I actually don't think. I think you kind of get the same thing each time. So you get this medium treasure each time and progress towards, collecting whatever you're collecting. And that fits with the idea behind these islands, these 0.7 islands, is that the more you do, the more you get. But it's not mandatory. So, again, Blizzard playing a little loose and fast with the idea of FOMO, or people who want to kind of collect everything or feel like they need to do everything. Yeah, this could suck you in, but ultimately, if you really have a good heart-to-heart with yourself and say, ooh, do I need this? Do these mounts interest me? Do these 18 different outfits, do I care? Yeah, maybe you don't need to spend as much time here. The other kind of second point, my reaction to Siren Isle at this point has to do with the story. Now, I thought that there was a fair chunk of story coming out. I thought that the island was part of the main story, part of the Xalatath thing. And I think that's kind of true, but only to a point. Ultimately, I don't really know, because here's the problem. And it might be a me problem. It might be a Blizzard problem. It might be both of us. We might both be responsible. I don't know. Having done all the intro quests, having done the week 2 quests, I still don't really fully get what's going on. And I think part of it is there was a lot of story, quote unquote, story stuff that was in text, and text only. There were tablets that you could read that were interesting, except after the 3rd tablet that seemed very similar to the other 2, and there's 6 more to read. I'm like, I can't take it all in. I can't. My brain, my attention span isn't good enough to sit there and pore over it. There were a couple books that you could find, 2 little purple shiny things that, I should read that. But you can't pick them up. You can't take them. They're just there. So I can go back and read them. But again, text. And so there's a lot of stuff in game that seems to be, it's here, but it is difficult to access. If it's text, some of us don't really take in text the same way as we should. It would be nice to hear that. There are also stories and stuff coming from characters. Here's where part of it might be a me problem. Well, the attention span is a me problem, but we haven't solved that yet. But the second thing is, I think I had a weird thing going on in the game where I wasn't getting people's dialogue. Like, dialogue just disappeared. And at some point, I'm like, wait, no one's talking on this island. It's very strange. And so I rebooted the game, and I think it came back, and I think it disappeared again. Honestly, I think I set something new up on my computer for the podcast for doing some recording, and I think it may have messed with something. Not quite sure. Got to solve that. But the more voice lines in the game, I think the better as far as telling story. I think it can be really hard if things are just in text. It's hard to take it in. Sometimes it's hard to sit there and read because you're like, well, I'm reading this tablet, but there's mobs running around. I don't want to be killed or stabbed in the back or whatever. So, yeah, voicing is helpful. Story bits were strange. I feel like I need to do this on a second character to do it again and just hear it all a second time or see it all a second time. And maybe I was wrong, or maybe it's, not super interesting. Is it useful? I don't know. I do know this, that, there's a couple more weeks of island activities. So therefore, there may be some more story coming. I also know that there are 2 more quest lines of story that are not out yet. And I guess we can talk about that in the news. Maybe it's time to switch to the news anyway. Let's do that.
You bring news?
What news from the mainland?
Have you any news?
In fact, we do have news, and there is news from the mainland, so there you go. And the news that I was just talking about are these 2 storylines. The Dalaran epilogue, which is going to kind of it's going to explain sort of the demise of the city of Dalaran and what the next steps might be. We are going to get that from, I don't want to spoil anything here, but there is a certain prominent person from Dalaran who is now in the Khazalgar area. And yes, we will hear from that person. How's that for not spoiling things? If you know, you know. Like, yeah. This person is there. There is a sign on this person, and it says, hey, check back in X number of days. I think we're down to 12, so we got a couple more weeks. Sounds like this will be maybe the 4th week of the patch where we're going to start this epilogue quest line from this person who you all know. Okay. And the second quest line is the Lingering Shadows quest line. This is not as much an epilogue, but a prologue. This is the kind of getting us put into the direction of that 11.1 patch, the Undermined patch. And that was announced since I've talked to you. 11.1 coming out February, I want to say 26th. I don't feel like looking. It's close. There are better news news sources than here, so hey. But new raid, new story, new zone. We're going underground with the goblins, diving into a lot of goblin story, a lot of goblin lore connections. I think it's gonna be super interesting. I've heard some people talk about it, and yeah, the goblins have been connected to kind of the Azurite, Kajamite stuff being put out, the blood or the spirit of the Azeroth World Soul, whatever you want to call it. They have been involved in that for a long time, and we're going to get to see this very long-awaited Undermine area. So the Undermined expansion coming in February. I'm not sure when the Lingering Shadows quest line becomes available, but it is coming, and that will get us set up for the story that's coming in 11.1. Next item is probably something coming even sooner, and that is the Turbulent Timeways. They are returning. So time walking dungeons every week. And if you do every week's time walking, you get a special reward. I don't do a lot of time walking. In fact, I don't think I've done it maybe since Legion. I don't remember. It's been a long, long time. So I don't know a lot about that, but there is a B riding mount, sky riding mount, that is on offer if you get through all 5 weeks of this. Again, another thing designed to kind of fill in the gap to get people engaged and on board heading into the next patch. So that is coming on January 7th, very soon. I also noticed something interesting in the launcher just the other day, and I don't know how new this was when this showed up. If you look at the launcher on the character select screen, there are not 3 tabs at the top. There are now 4. 4 is interesting because the new one just says game modes. And then it says new game modes coming soon. You click on it. And so I haven't seen an announcement. I haven't heard an announcement. I assume maybe I've missed something somewhere, or maybe not. But what I do assume is the next item in the news will show up in this spot, and that is, of course, Plunderstorm. Speaking of things to tide you over until the next content, Plunderstorm returns probably a lot quicker than most of us thought. And indeed, it is coming back to the Arathi Highlands. I had previously hoped for maybe a new zone. I thought that would be nice, but same place. Returns January 14th. New rewards, but there are some changes this time. First of all, there are some different abilities and updated abilities, so the game should feel at least a little bit fresh. Not the same crop of stuff and the same meta to figure out. There's an improved starting drop, and I do not know what that means. I'm curious about that. The practice lobby, which if you want to get in and practice, I don't really see the problem. It's not like you're gaining rank or anything weird. If you go in and do badly, you just do badly and start over. So it all feels like practice to me, but whatever. And then the biggest thing is, aside from new rewards and new transmog and mounts and things, is that the way you're going to acquire those, it is not a renown system. You are not going to have to burn through 40 levels of renown like we did last time. This time, no grind. You're going to earn a currency. You're going to earn plunder, and you can go to the plunder store and spend it however you want. So if the only thing you want is what would have been, renowned 40 last time, you just have to grind enough to buy the thing and skip everything else. And if you want everything, I'm, assuming everything is going to be on offer if you grind hard enough. So I am kind of looking forward to this. I did have fun. I made my fun. I mean, you can check out my thoughts on Plunderstorm in previous episodes. I think it'll be fun again. I also think it will sadly take away from playing the regular game. So I'll be a little bit torn between, do I want to grind up some Plunderstorm, or do I want to play some of those 64 characters I mentioned? That'll be more of a decision in, the first 6 months of an expansion than it would be a year and a half into an expansion like the first Plunderstorm was. So kind of a different dynamic there. But that makes the change from renown to the store a huge difference. So I can, maybe there's 5 things that I want. I can target those and be done whenever I want. So good stuff there. I appreciate those changes. Last couple things in the news are the 2 holidays that end in a little over a week. Basically week and a half from now. First is the anniversary event, and that wraps up on January 7th. So Tuesday on the day of the weekly reset. If I check the in-game calendar, it says 8 a.m. I'm actually not sure if that's local time or not. I don't know if that's right. Anyway, in the morning, maybe at weekly reset time, which I thought for me is 10 o'clock, although I don't know what time the server is. Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway, anniversary event. So I will finally be released from my 25-minute chore every day of making sure I get those trivia questions in. So, looks like about 12 more days. That's a lot of questions. But if you've got goals for the anniversary event, get in there, figure out what you need, and figure out how you are going to acquire it. Make sure you get all of those celebration bronze spent, whether it's tier 2 upgrade mog, or if it's mounts or pets or whatever you need, whatever things you want to accomplish. Plan accordingly. 12 days from right now, probably less by the time you get this into your earbuds. And the second holiday, of course, that is ending is Wintervale. The Feast of Wintervale is upon us. The season is upon us, but it will come to an end on January 5th. So a couple days before that. That is on Sunday. And that's Sunday, like early morning. That says 6 a.m. So if you have, if you're attacking that Grinch and doing all the things, Wintervale will end on January 5th. And to talk a little bit more about Wintervale, I feel like we need to change locations. And Wintervale feels like a good time to go back to a place where we don't normally go. But this is a good time of year to go there because the Garrison in Draenor gets its Wintervale decorations this time of year. So let's go check that out. Well, here we are in the Garrison in Draenor. It's kind of good to be back. Don't make it out this way very often. I know even the word Garrison has a lot of connotation for a lot of players, either good or bad. Some people made a giant pile of money in their garrisons. A lot of people not super excited about garrison life. All of this is secondhand to me. This Garrison stuff was live when I started playing in 2015, but I never, as I've said before, never got to current content. So yeah, I got in well after everybody was in there. Things were very different. But there is a good reason to come back. There are a lot of Wintervale things to do in the Garrison. There are daily quests available in your Garrison. They're going to yield you merry supplies, and those supplies can be used to purchase more cosmetics and decorations, particularly the decorations for your Garrison itself. And, if you were playing then, you've probably done all this. It's not new to you. But if you weren't playing, it may be new. And so I'm actually kind of running around right now looking to do some of those dailies. I don't think I got many, if any, of the extra decorations. If you go back to your Garrison now, you're going to see that there are some automatic decorations already there. Trees lit up, and there's a festive spirit, but there is more that you can do, that you can purchase. There are vendors. I went in the other day, kind of getting ready for this episode, and noticed that there are a lot of clothing options that I'd never seen before. So I bought out a whole bunch of those. Not super expensive. So that's worth doing if you want to collect some holiday transmog for your people to wear. Definitely check that out. And there are still a lot of things to actually do in that Garrison. There are pet battle dailies. There are things that you can get to, pets that you can collect that are not available elsewhere. And hey, if you've never participated in Draenor, if you haven't had the chance to kind of dive in, it is worth picking a character, picking a side, whether it's, Horde or Alliance, and going in and starting up a Garrison. Like, start a character fresh in Warlords Draenor, and then get in there and experience. It's really easy. It's pretty fast, actually, to get to that level 1 Garrison, to get things moving. So hop in and do it. I don't normally play while I'm recording because, frankly, my brain doesn't often do well doing 2 things at once like this, but I am running around in Frostfire Ridge, in the zone that the Horde Garrison is. And this is where all of the dailies are for the Winter Vale. There are kill a number of these grumplings. There are free a bunch of the children who are locked up in cages. So all sorts of good, typical daily quest stuff. There are a ton of people here. And my main characters on the Alliance are all on a server that is not an RP server. And it is... here's the big boss, the Grumpus boss, making its appearance, so hopping in there. But there are tons of people running around here. And this is, a couple days after Christmas itself. This is not the beginning of the Winter Vale holiday. And yet, it's mostly Horde if I'm looking, but there are probably 50 or 60 players running around here. Garona server is not a big server by itself, but it is a merged server, so it is, connected server, connected with numerous others. So yeah, there's a lot of people running around here. There's a lot of population. I imagine it's on, much bigger scale on big servers. If you're playing on I don't even know what they are, Tichondrius or whatever some of those bigger servers are. So clearly people still do this, and this is a great place to just sort of farm up some stuff that you don't normally get to do. And I think, isn't that kind of part of WoW is finding the things to do that are outside the normal, the repetition, the boring. Like, things can get boring just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So by the time this episode comes out, which hopefully is a little bit later today, tomorrow, there will still be, like I said, a week or so left of the event. So plenty of time, even if you've never, like I said, even if you've never been to Draenor, get out there, start up a character, run through the quests. For the decorations, I'll mention this real quick. You do have to get to a level 3 garrison to see the decorations, at least the ones you purchase. I know that you can see the regular decorations. I hopped on a character that had a level 2 garrison. Not gonna lie, I left it at level 2 because at level 2 in an Alliance garrison, you are visited by Varian Wrynn as part of the story. At that point in the story, King Varian comes and meets with you, what have you. I don't even remember why. Well, of course, spoilers for Legion. Varian Wrynn doesn't make it through the next opening sequence of the next expansion. So I don't know. I always kind of like that Varian's just standing there. He doesn't have voice lines. He doesn't say anything. I think at some point they kind of muted him. But I like that you can go visit him and see him standing there doing his thing. And I know that if you upgrade to the 3rd level of Garrison, he is no longer there. The story moves on and he's gone back to whatever. So yeah, I've frozen at least one character at Garrison level 2. Why not? Hey, quick editing note. I mistakenly described that as a tier 2 garrison. Varian shows up when you upgrade to a tier 3 garrison, and then he bugs out of there if you let him. But I have frozen a couple of my characters at that point right after the upgrade where Varian's there, and haven't progressed the story so that I do get to see Varian.
You're just embarrassing yourself. You're doing it wrong.
Also, know that you have to get your garrison up to a level 3 to get the daily quests in Draenor. So, just a couple of little corrections there. All right, back to the story. There's another reason I wanted to head out to Warlords of Draenor in the Garrison, and that is related to something I mentioned last week. That is something I mentioned last episode, and that was, I mentioned flying to Nagrand to record some audio, to record the zone music. And in doing that, my rare scanner went off and I kept stopping to kill rares, especially once I realized that, hey, this is just collecting transmog that I've never had, and I can collect it all on one character because the transmog rules are now such that, everybody can collect any different mog. And I thought, okay, you know what? I think I'm gonna just station a character out here in Draenor and do that and run around and basically collect them all. And so after deciding I would do that, the idea progressed from there, and I got the idea that I think what I want to do is keep going with that idea and bring it into the show a bit, because we are at 10 years after Warlords of Draenor came out this past November. So we missed the 10-year launch. That means the first raid tier came out. That means, content, leveling, all that stuff is now 10 years old. And I thought, hey, why not in 2025, in this coming year, because it's the kind of the 10-year anniversary of me playing, why not go through some Warlords content on the show? We'll hit the raids for some raids of the month. I almost did the raid of the month in Hellfire Citadel, and then I kind of had this idea and I thought, nope, I'm going to change it up. So I'm going to come back to Warlords. We're going to, throughout the coming year, throughout some episodes, kind of walk through Draenor, celebrate the good parts, because it is much maligned. I think on 7 out of every 10 lists that I see, Warlords is the worst expansion, maybe until Shadowland showed up. And that may be true, and I don't dispute that. I certainly don't want to argue people's feelings, especially when I wasn't even in the current content at that time. That said, there is a lot of good in Warlords. There is a lot of positive. There's a lot of great leveling. And so if you're a solo player, if you're a casual player, I still think there's a lot of stuff to revisit here. And that's why I'm going to do that. We're going to start probably in January a little bit and walk through some of the cool parts. But I think it really starts right now, because why not head to your garrison? Why not go start a new garrison? If you haven't done one on both sides, Alliance and Horde, the system is the same. The upgrades are basically the same. But of course, the aesthetics completely different. The gameplay is similar, but hey, why not RP that? I have numerous Alliance garrisons, all in various states, none of them amazing, but I only have one Horde garrison. And I think what I'll do for the show is at some point I'll grab a Horde character and start them in Warlords throughout this year and level through that, upgrade that garrison, so I at least get a second Horde garrison. Why not? It'll give World of Warcraft Wrapped something else to yell at me about in the coming year, in a year from now. All right, well, while we've been chatting, while I've been babbling on, I did finish all, 4 of the dailies, so I'm now flying back to my garrison, mostly because my garrison is not off cooldown. Yes, it is. It's about to be 13 seconds. So not bad. You can hearth out there to your garrison and then get those dailies and then hang around a bit, talk to your podcast, and then the timer goes up and you can garrison Hearthstone back. Okay, we're back in the garrison, heading down to turn in my daily quests. They're all right in the square in the Alliance garrison. They're right in the fountain. There are quest givers, but there are also the goblins from Smoky Wood Pastures are there. They are the ones that are selling various things, various appearances. Head over there and check those out. And let's see if we got any amazing results from our daily quests. Here we go. Where are the children? Merry supplies. Grumpus gives you 2 merry supplies. Menacing grumplings, another merry supplies. According to what I was reading, the merry supplies do not go anywhere. They are warbound, they can be moved around, and they do not disappear at the end of the event, so you can kind of have them. And now I have 5. I don't know if I have any on any other characters from other years. Let's see if there's anything. Okay, so each of the decorations, the ball of tangled lights, the little helpers, the imported trees, the festive outfits, old box of decorations, the crashin' thrashin' killdozer controller, and the savage gift. A couple of those are like a savage gift has a chance to get other things. Obviously, the crashin' thrashin' killdozer controller is a toy. The other 5 I mentioned are all decorations, so you can buy those decorations. What do I want? Festive outfits, imported trees, balls of tangled lights, old box decorations. We're going to start with that. And this just means I need to come do a few more dailies out here before the event is up. Crank out all of those. And of course you can do it on multiple characters, so there we go. I don't know if I have to reload. Let's try and reload, see if it shows up. No, there are candy canes everywhere. Love it. I mentioned a few minutes ago about the raid of the month, and now I think it's time for this month's raid of the month. So let's get to it. It's time for the raid of the month. And this month, I had a couple ideas. I was going to poke around. I was going to do some Hellfire Citadel, but then I had an idea about what I want to do with Warlords of Draenor in the coming year. So I'm going to hold off on that. And I decided to look up raids where there are still 2 mounts on offer for me. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You can certainly look in-game at your inventory and you can click the things that are not yet collected. There's some simpler ways. Wowhead has a collection tracker as well, where you log in to, you choose your server, you go to the collection tracker, choose the server, type in your character name, and it pulls up the data for your character, unless you know what you have collected. This is an even better way. If you haven't checked out the website simplearmory.com, you need to check that out. You log in a similar way. You don't need to log in per se, but you need to choose your server, put your character name in, and when you do that, similar to Wowhead, it pulls up your information, but it also, and it does it for all the things you can collect. There's a bunch of tabs. There's an overview for your character. It will check out your achievements. But under the collectible tab, mounts, companions, battle pets, toys, heirlooms, and titles, you can check out all of those things. Last I used this, battle pets was not working. It looks like it is now, which is great. I haven't used this site much in the last couple of years. If you click on the mounts page, there is a button that says Show Planner. At the very top it says Mounts, a little checkbox, and then Show Planner. If you click that checkbox, it just maps out a plan for you to go find. I don't know if it's all the things that are still available, but it is a path from basically where you start in your faction capital, and it recommends you set your Hearthstone to your faction capital, and then it has a list. So for mine, for example, it has 65 steps. That's going to take me to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably about 15, 20 instances, something like that. Raids, dungeons, things that we haven't collected yet. Super handy. And if you do pull that up, you can see it's not the most well organized. I would make some changes to this if I were in charge, but it's super helpful. In the third column, you can see what mount is on offer, and by doing that, you can look and see, hey, what things have multiple mounts available. Dragon Soul, for instance, has 3 mounts available to it, but I don't feel like running Dragon Soul right now. I have a couple others, Nighthold, let's see, Desaralor, which we've tried to already get on the show, Sanctum of Domination, which I have not tried any Shadowlands raids yet. That is coming in the future in Raid of the Month. But for today, we're going to do Antorus. Antorus the Burning Throne, the final raid in the Legion expansion. 2 mounts on offer, the Antoran Charhound, which is available on all difficulties from the boss, the Fellhounds of Sargeras. And then there is the Shackled Urzul, which is only available on Mythic from Argus the Unmaker. So we will run this on Mythic, because why not? Now, one word of warning to you if you either never played Legion or if you have characters that have not done a lot of the Legion questing, it is not easy to get to the raid. So ultimately, I went back to my main. I had to go all the way up to my Night Elf Druid, Feral Druid, because she has run the raid, she did all the questing, everything is open. And so finally, here I am in the Antoran Wastelands, and I'm actually trying to find the start of the raid because it's a little confusing getting around here. I do not remember coming down here before. I had a kind of a crappy time getting here, even going through the portal. First, you have to go to Dalaran, obviously, Legion Dalaran. Then I did hop into the Argus portal to get us to the planet. In case you don't remember, Argus is the home world, the original home world of the Draenei, but also home world of the Burning Legion. And if we were going to defeat the Burning Legion, we had to go to their home world. And so Prophet Velen and everybody figured out how to kind of move through some weird space-time portal to, I guess it was effectively pull Argus closer, and they could take the Vindicar, the Draenei spaceship that they were using, pull it closer to Azeroth, and through we went. And so there you are. We're in Argus, but here we are. Finally found the Summoning Stone. It's kind of, the whole raid is kind of in a valley in the southern part of this zone. There is a map, kind of an identifier called the Fellfire Armory, and that's where the raid begins. If you want both mounts, make sure you have Mythic selected on your raid difficulty. And let's begin.
Light Forged, secure this position!
Okay.
The Vindicar will draw all the fire we can, Toralion, but we cannot hold out long. You must disable their defenses. We will not fail you, Prophet. Champions, we'll keep these winged beasts occupied while you clear a path.
Oh, how nice of you.
Dionys Arca.
You guys will stay here and I'll do some work. Okay. All right, off we go. So, looks like everything is level 46 plus, and they are dying very quickly to my level 80 Druid. Let's see, what are we rocking now? She is 598.13 on the old item level. Rocking a 606 weapon. You know, equipped well enough, but certainly not everything in the 600s. Still have one piece of gear at 580. That's the low one. Tough when you don't do, you know, all of the raids and all of the dungeons and even all of the, you know, it's not like I'm going crazy in delves. I have not had a lot of time, so we're even behind in that way.
We're gaining ground. Press the attack. Lightforged, fall back! Champions, bring that monstrosity down!
Enemy combatants detected. Red level.
Target change. 4, 3, 2.
The Garathi World Breaker on Mythic is down. 7 seconds.
I've started my assault on the northern front. I'll keep their forces occupied so you can hit the priority targets.
All right, here we go.
forces are
So I
moving
just
towards
collected a
Legion High
ton
Command.
of
Buy us all the time you can.
transmog. I think this may be the first time I've done this on Mythic, because I just got the achievement for Mythic, so I guess, yeah, it is. So that's good to know. There are a lot of bosses in this raid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 boss raid. So we got our work cut out for us. The next boss is actually the first chance at a mount.
Garrison has left us a few of his favorite pets to play with. Remove these abominations from the battlefield.
There they are. Come down into the fell hounds of Hoo-Ha. What are they called? So Shatug and Farg. Who names their things that? All right. There we go.
Shadow on you.
That's 2 demons down.
Okay.
But countless more await the attention of your blade.
Well, no mount, so hell with this game. The gear that's dropping is 251, so not super helpful, of course, to me. But it's all new. A lot of good stuff I'm picking up. A lot of good transmog, and of course, doesn't matter, cloth, what have you. All of those things are coming in, and I'm learning them, which is good. Okay, Argus the Unmaker. So this is the world soul of the planet Argus. We're in the Seat of the Pantheon, where we have Golganath, Khazgaroth, Anar, Agramar, Norganon, and Aman'Thul, with 1 seat missing. Okay, well, let's just dispatch this, see if we get a mount, and go from there. All right, here we go.
Let the fury of the sea wash away this corruption.
Under 6 seconds. Not bad.
You have done well, mortals.
Thank you.
We must gather our strength. Return home.
It's only, what, 9, 8 years after this raid launched.
Illidan, we've done all we can. Every choice, every sacrifice has led me to this moment. To face him once again. You are not coming with us. The hunter is nothing without the hunt. Did you not see this fate, prophet?
Oh, Illidan is so hardcore.
Our survival was never in fate's hands. Light be with you, Illidan Stormrage.
Alright, so the Vindicar is flying off.
Brother, your crusade is over.
Here we go. Pulsar Garrus from nothing. Oh, he is not happy. Oh, it's a death glare. And then out of his hand, boom, that sword. Yeah, boy. It's still pretty cool to watch that. Oh. As parting shots go, that's a pretty good one. Velen breathes the sigh of 10,000 years at least. And now, Silithus has been reworked. Still pretty cool raid. Pretty cool cutscene and stuff. Alright, here's the big moment. The Pantheon's bounty. I shall click upon it. And I shall not receive a mount. I suppose that's how that goes. Hey, and I'm back on the Vindicar, so okay, no big run out from this one.
We welcome your help.
Okay, so the raid is done. Is it worth doing? Well, it's not the easiest raid to farm, I don't think. And of course, it all does come down to, do you dig what the raid has on offer? So the Antoran Charhound, you know, it's a look. It's you know, got that demon legion-y thing. It is a flying mount. The shackled Urzul mount is the creepy, many-faced, you know, ugly fiend-looking thing. Also a flying mount, even though it doesn't look like it should fly. Does have sort of bone nubbins of wings, but both of them are, you know, a specific look you may or may not care about. If you're hunting for just numbers, well, yeah, you may want to farm this. It is a little bit long in the running around, but the portals do help. Overall, this first time run took me probably about 40-45 minutes. I know that would speed up with a couple not dyings and just knowing my way around, knowing what I need to do. So I'm sure that will come down, but that still seems like a long time.
What news?
If you are someone who did not play Legion, you are going to have some questing to do and some stuff to kind of get the Argus raid opened up. That said, once you've done that, it is available to you. I did go back and check with a couple more characters. One who did Legion but did not do Argus, and then another one that did not. If you played Legion, you're probably good. Even a character that has done nothing in Legion can find their way to Legion Dalaran, and if you've already opened up Argus on another character, it will be available. As will taking portals to get to the Antoran Wastelands, the zone where the raid begins. If you haven't, once you do all that questing, you'll be good to go. So, should you do it? Yeah, why not? You get to see the end of the Legion story. There's some really cool views of Azeroth from space. There are plenty of good story bits in there, some of which, with the Titans, feel meaningful to the story in the War Within, the current story. And you get to see how that big sword ends up in Silithus. So yeah, get out there. Do it at least once, or maybe a couple times to gather up all that transmog. And remember, yeah, you can collect appearances for all 4 armor classes at once, so why not? Now that I have not earned the 2 mounts from Antorus, let's head to the final pinnacle part of Wintervale, and that is heading to Great Father Winter. For the Alliance, of course, that is in Ironforge. For the Horde, that is in Orgrimmar. And I like to often do Wintervale stuff on my mages because the mages can go right to Ironforge really easily. If you're following the show on Instagram or actually anywhere, you would have seen said mage with Santa Pepe, Great Father Winter Pepe on his head, wishing you a happy holiday, happy Wintervale.
Interestiana pint?
Well, here we are in Ironforge at the Stonefire Tavern, just across the way from Great Father Winter. We're getting closer. While we're here in the dwarf capital, gonna order up a flagon of dwarven mead as a starter. You know, feel like obligated in the dwarven capital to have some dwarven mead, but it is the season, and so why not follow that with a Great Father's Winter Ale to celebrate the season. And on this side of the screen, I may be tipping a glass in celebration of some bourbon from Ezra Brooks. I may have come into a bottle from its distiller's collection over the holidays. Thank you, you know who. Fellow WoW player, but not someone that listens to the podcast, and that's okay, he has my permission. And this certainly, you know, keeps that permission going. A nice select bottle of bourbon. So, hey, cheers to all of you out there for your holidays, whatever they are. And now that we are refreshed and glowing inside just a little bit, let's head over to the Wintervale Madness, just outside the window from here in the Stonefire Tavern.
Let's get down to business.
And of course, aside from the Garrison, this really is the hub of Wintervale activity. I'm here in Ironforge. There are more dailies to do here, including You're a Mean One to go kill the abominable Grinch. That is the Wintervale world boss. Remember to pick up the quest before you head out there. If you do get out there, there is a sneaky little snowman or something hiding in the woods. You can get the quest from him as well. And I don't remember if this is new this year. I think it was not. I think it was around last year. Don't fly out to Hillsbrad Hills to go kill the Grinch. There is an express transportation link where essentially you hop onto a sleigh that will carry you quickly out to kill the Grinch. And why not do that now? We'll hop on, 5 reindeer, pull your sleigh full of toys, and the Christmas music kicks in, which I love. We head out the gates of Ironforge, and boy, if it moves this slowly, I would just soon fly. Oh, okay, there we go. I thought for a second it was gonna fly me the whole way. It does then just kind of reload you into the zone and land you in the area. So much faster, I can vouch, having already flown manually this year like an idiot, because sometimes, you know. I'll say this, and this is kind of, this is not a criticism, kind of, might sound like it. Wintervale is so big, like there's so many parts to it. And it's, you know, it's kind of the key holiday of the year on the WoW calendar. It has so many parts, so many things have been added over the years that I think to a newcomer or to someone who doesn't normally do holidays, boy, it can seem like a lot. And so, you know, be mindful, don't get overwhelmed. They add a little something every year, so if you're keeping up with it, that's fine. If you're not someone who keeps up with it, but you get some interest in it, try not to just be overwhelmed. And part of that not being overwhelmed is either not going to the Wowhead page on Wintervale, or just knowing ahead of time, when you go to that page, man, oh man, there is so much on there that explains what the holiday is. I was scrolling through it earlier, just brushing up on some things, learning some things, and it never ended. I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, and my eyes are glazing over. I swear they're repeating things 8 times. I can't take it all in, but holy cow, there's so much information, which means there's a lot to do. And you don't need to do it all, and you don't need to do it all in 1 year. If you're new to this, give yourself some time. Remember that Wintervale runs until the morning of January 5th, I guess depending on where you are, but in my part of the world, it seems like 6 in the morning. Wintervale ends on Sunday, January 5th. So you got about a week. Okay, well, I'm gonna turn in my quest after killing the Grinch. You're a mean one. I get some stolen treats, stolen presents, some bronze tokens for the celebration. I got a toy gorilla and some mincemeat fruitcake. Nothing rare, nothing crazy. All right. One final task to do, and that is to open my presents. I've waited to do this with you. Collect all my, 6 presents? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. With the nice music playing, with Great Father Winter there to either see the joy on my face or maybe the disappointment. I don't know. Ooh, 25 bronze tokens in a gift. Oh, that's not bad. And 2 presents. So the portentous present companion. So we have that pet. And the box of Puntables toy, which puts a box, I just saw someone use it. It puts a box, a gift, a Christmas gift box full of Great Father Winter's helpers, and you get to punt them around. All right, not bad. Good haul for the first present. Some Wintervale cookies, excellent. A mechanical Grinch, of course, always good to have. Ooh, the Wintervale cracker. Another toy. Find someone to help pull open the cracker. One participant will receive a surprise. Okay, so kind of Wintervale Christmas themed thing. Especially if you're British, you're used to crackers. And a green helper box. So that'll be, all right, Father Winter's helper. That's another companion. And my final gift, a wand of holiday cheer. So I am just going to blast that baby off, and people are going to be filled with the spirit. Hey, all right. Thanks, Great Father Winter. Speaking of gifts, we'll hit a Blingtron 4000. Get some useless crap there that will sell for, looks like about 30 gold, so not bad. My plan for today was to share my Wintervale wish list, but alas, Great Father Winter has already shown up, so I can't ask him for stuff now. That would be weird, but maybe we can put stuff out there for next year. So what's on my wish list? Well, what's the number one thing on my wish list? If you've been listening, you know that it is #follower raids. Hopefully Great Father Winter can bend the ears of the high developers who make the big decisions and devote some hours and what have you to kind of making that feature fully fleshed out for everybody. That you can take the dungeon idea of followers and apply it to the raids so that I can go in there with, hey, whatever, 9 others or whatever you need to do for a raid, do some mechanics, make it easy, scale it down, and I can get the whole picture, not just that final little bit. Because, as we saw in the raid in Argus, there is story events inside of there. So I want to see all those things And again, not have to wait 4 years until I can solo them by myself. Here's my other wish list item. This will never happen. That's okay. A single player WoW spinoff. Right? Isn't that the goal of every solo player, to have, to be that character at the center of things and not have the kind of immersion breaking of 50, 100, 200 other characters running around, depending on, what part of the world you're in. A single player adventure, and I don't know what it would look like. I don't know. I just think it would be kind of neat. I don't think we're ever going to get it, and I think that's perfectly okay. But wouldn't that be kind of cool? Because that's how I kind of play this game. I kind of ignore the fact that there are all these people running around, and I just enjoy myself. I enjoy getting out there. I enjoy putting Pepe back on my head right now. Woohoo! Other wish list items. You know what? I don't want to be greedy. I think one realistic and one pie in the sky wish. Those are probably good enough for me for this year. Yeah. Hey, it's the end of the year, and the end, really, I'm going to kind of consider this the end of the first year of Solo Queue as well. We put out the first real episode at the start of December in 2023. It is now December 2024, the end of the month. This is episode 17, which means I did okay for the first year. I don't know. I'm blown away. I'm excited on many levels. I'm excited that I was even able to do this, to figure it out, to kind of gather up the tech and gather up the knowledge and figure enough stuff out to be able to do this a number of times. Hopefully you can hear I'm going to say quality. I don't mean that in a braggy sort of way, because Lord knows this could be better. But I really love things that are fully fleshed out and things that are kind of rich, as I mentioned earlier. And so putting the extra time to get the sounds in, to get the sound effects in, I like doing that. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And I hope it sounds good on your end. I hope you kind of appreciate, just a little bit more depth as I ramble on. Don't normally have another host here to do that with me. So it's a different kind of podcast, I think. And so far it's working. I mean, I've watched download numbers go up steadily throughout the year. I frankly can't quite believe where they are after a year. It's really exciting. I have no idea what an amazingly successful podcast looks like as far as numbers. I don't really care, because it's not the goal. It's not even the point of the show. I don't think the topic and the scope of this show is one that necessarily lends itself to everybody, and that's okay. That all said, what do I want to do for next year? Well, I do want to make some changes, and I do want to find ways to make this a little bit more predictable, a little bit more, not routine, that's not the word, but get this out on a more regular basis. And oddly enough, and I could be really wrong, and I think there's a statistically significant chance that I am wrong, but I think putting out 2 episodes a month might be the answer. And here's why. Here's what I'm convincing myself with. 2 episodes a month means it almost has to be a little bit more scheduled. It has to be a little bit more routine, and I have to make that time. I think it also means that I will dive in and make some content ahead of time, certain segments like raids of the month and things like that are not tied to, a specific moment. Those can be recorded when I've got some lean time. or I should say I've got some free time in my schedule. And then, I think getting 2 episodes out and not having to try and plow through a 2.5-hour episode like I did earlier, and I don't know, I'm not sure where we are in this episode now, but trimming things down a little bit. And here's the idea behind the 2 a month. Essentially, I still want to put out 1 normal episode per month with the news, with topics, with the rate of the month, all of that sort of stuff. So kind of the same thing, but probably a little bit more focused. The second episode each month is almost like what I've been thinking of as bonus episodes this year, in that it's going to be, if I have interviews that month, then we'll see those there. If I have a topic that I want to cover that's kind of outside the normal scope, I can do it there. If I have overflow topics, which lately have been, okay, let's just heap some more on and keep going for a couple hours, I can trim those other shows back a little bit and save those overflow topics for the next kind of other type of show. So it really, once a month, it'll be a catch-all whatever, and once a month, a little bit more formal, more familiar style show, something we're used to right now. That's the idea. That's the goal. I think it might work. As I said, I've done a few things in my life to free up some time. I think I may be able to pull this off. We'll try it in 2025. We'll try it in January. I've got an idea for the next episode. Hopefully, I haven't fully decided on the timing of everything. I still need to do a little digging and a little bit of work to make this happen. But I think I'll shoot for, obviously 1 episode early in the month, and then the normal episode later in the month. I'd love to say the 1st and the 15th of each month, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe it's the 7th and the 21st. I've been trying for the 21st most of this year, and once in a while it worked. Once in a while. So we'll see how that goes. I gotta finish some grading, get ready for report cards here at the end of this semester, now that the holidays are done, and I can and now that this episode will be out, I can get back to doing that. But then I think I am gonna turn my attention towards that first episode of a couple different things. I got 3 things that I'm thinking of. They're all kind of Warcraft related media, and we'll talk a little bit more about that soon. Maybe I'll throw some previews up on the social media things, so feel free to follow. The last thing I want to do here this month and this year is to sort of pause and give a big thank you. Just put this out into the world. Most of the people I'm gonna be thankful for are not gonna hear this, and that's okay. But this podcast didn't come out of nowhere, and my interest in doing a podcast didn't come out of nowhere. That doesn't sound like very good radio speak, does it? It did not come out of nowhere. Okay, we're moving on from that. Essentially, what I really want to say is this. I have various inspirations in my life, some of them a little odd, that have gotten me here, and I want to sort of just be grateful for them. The first one is listening to NPR, National Public Radio. I have been listening to NPR regularly since 1994. That's a while ago. In college, I got into it, I was a member of 2 different public radio states, New Hampshire and Maine at the time. I just fell in love with listening. I was driving in my car a lot. It was there. There's something about the depth of audio, of good audio, that can build images in your mind. And part of that is the second thing on my list, specifically the show This American Life, which you may be familiar with. It was a weekly show. I believe it's still on. I actually don't listen much anymore, but it was audio journalism really at its best, because it did take an interest in good audio quality and adding some depth and adding details that immersed you into the story and the people they were talking about and the issues. And sometimes they're big issues and sometimes they were super mundane. And that's what made it great about, just life, like life in America, life in all of these things. Not everything is grand and huge. Not everything is an election. Sometimes it's just a hobby. Sometimes it's a little thing you do. And I appreciate that show and Ira Glass and all the contributors to that show. And maybe that was a place where I heard a voice that was a little bit different on the radio, and you didn't have to have that radio voice, that trained, perfected, what have you, to be interesting. The next inspiration is sort of the natural evolution of that. And for a number of years in my life, I was way into baseball. And I started listening to baseball on the radio, particularly the Red Sox, because I'm here in New England and I've grown up to be a Boston sports fan for sure. And I started listening to the Red Sox on the radio back in 2002 to maybe 2001. I think it was 2001. And then, I just got more and more each season. And by 2003, I was listening to almost every game on the radio. I was listening to as many AM broadcasts that I could get to at night. Oddly enough, at night, you tune your radio, you can pull in signals from all over the place. And I was listening to stuff from New York and Baltimore and various places. I could even at times pull in the Seattle Mariners broadcast from Seattle. That's a long way from Maine. And I loved hearing all the different announcers and all the personalities. And in particular, I just absolutely loved listening to the recently retired Joe Castiglione and his then partner, Jerry Trupiano. I just fell in love with baseball broadcasting through them, listening to them every day. They would set the mood. They would, have jokes and stories. And, it was more than just balls and strikes. It was a feeling. It was like you were invited into the booth to hang out, not just for the game, but for the friendship and the camaraderie. And that, again, that left a lasting impression on me. And it was very passionate. 2003, the Red Sox almost made it to the World Series, but didn't. And I remember exactly where I was, sitting in my garage listening to that game. And that was sad. And then the following season, 2004, was that first World Series championship for the Red Sox in 86 years. And, I have a pretty bad memory about a lot of things. I've said that before, but boy, I can hear the announcer. I can hear the call on some of those plays like it was yesterday. So there's something about audio that gets into my head, and I think it gets into other people as well. The last phase of my inspiration, of course, is getting a lot closer to home, and that is I started first playing Hearthstone. I got turned on to Hearthstone, and it wasn't long before I started listening to The Angry Chicken with Garrett Weinzierl and Willie Dills and Jocelyn Then Moffat. I'm sorry, Jocelyn, I don't remember your married name. It's been a little while since I've listened to your stuff. But again, it was the same thing as the baseball announcers. You feel like you're part of that team, that friendship, that crew. And, I listened to, a couple hundred episodes of The Angry Chicken. I think even after I stopped playing Hearthstone, and eventually I did get into Warcraft, and I realized that at the time Willie Dills was on The Instance, and I became a big fan of The Instance with Scott and Patrick. Yeah, and that whole crew, including Terpster. I remember being heartbroken when he had issues and left the show, and I thought, that sucks when real life gets in the way of, my entertainment, essentially. But I've so appreciated Scott Johnson and all the work he's done. I know he does a million other shows and on various topics, and I'm almost sad that I don't listen to more of them because I don't need the content. I'm really focused on Warcraft, so I was excited when The Instance returned recently as a monthly podcast, and maybe this means the end of our competition for best monthly WoW podcast, because I might just go to twice a month, so I'll be in my own different market. But super amazing to listen to The Instance forever. And then other podcasts, some of them are no longer with us. And on that list, Azeroth Roundtable, so enjoyed listening to that. Azeroth Public Radio, which put out, a couple episodes, not many, and it was fashioned on This American Life, and it was built as this, hey, here's life in Azeroth, and here's some segments and some interviews and stuff, and it was rich with sound and ambiance and stuff, and I thought, oh, it's amazing. And nope, it didn't last. I imagine it was a lot of work, and now that I'm putting out a show that kind of strives to be a little bit like that, at least in the depth, I can appreciate how much work that is. One of my earliest was the Goblin Goldcast. I used to kind of aim for working in the economy, and I did some stuff, and I made a fair bit of gold a long time ago. Not anything crazy, but I loved listening to those guys just banter and joke and put out their wisdom. I was sad when they stopped putting out their show now many years ago. Corpse Run Radio was another fantastic, it was great. It was almost like a variety show that brought in songs and segments from other people, and I thought that was a really interesting way to do it, aggregating some content from some other places, which got me, exposed to, I think, Soul So Breezy and his internet content, his YouTube videos, which kind of took me in a new direction. The Rolling Restart. I miss listening to Ro. Kind of put out his I think it was monthly at the time, or maybe it was bi-weekly, I forget. And this last one on my No Longer With Us podcast list, Warcraft Less Traveled. And this was a podcast that was short little bites. It was the opposite of what I'm doing, rambling on and on. It was focused on a little topic, a little place, and it took you to places in the game that were super interesting. And I know I mentioned Warcraft Less Traveled many months ago on an episode. It was fantastic, and sadly, it is no longer out there. It is not, I can't find it, it's not on a feed, and of course, it costs money to put podcasts up and to keep them up, even if you're no longer making them, and there's not a lot of benefit to paying that money if you're not putting out more content. I have been in touch with the creator of Warcraft Less Traveled, and he mentioned he might try to get back at some point and maybe make that feed available. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I haven't followed up on that. Maybe in the new year. It was really a lot of fun, and it was a great guide for running around this world and finding some of the cool stuff, and I'm sure that could be continued. There's more cool stuff in the game. Maybe someone will take up that mantle. As far as shows I listen to now that are big influences, Starting Zone, of course, is a great place every week to go and get the information you need for this week. What's in the game, what the affixes are, what the what the events are for the week. Jason and Spencer do an amazing job putting that episode out week after week after week, and I want them to know that, yeah, their consistency is something that I strive for, but I so appreciate their show. The Essence of Azeroth is another kind of mood-setting, fantastic podcast that has been a little bit on pause. There was one recent episode, which means I hope there are more coming. It's a lot of lore, a lot of topics, which I think is great. The people who put their time into figuring out stories and packaging them up, kind of like I mentioned earlier in this episode, so appreciated because it does add to the world. It does add to our gameplay. I have to mention Thrall's Balls because, my goodness, that podcast run by Wooly and Gershom and now Boomy Nation and Johnny Tips, with other hosts in the past, they somehow found me, especially Gershom found me in this podcast, and they have been super kind to me, giving me shout outs, and I am so thankful. I'm so thankful to Gershom for her friendship, and I'm looking to have her back on the show in February. She doesn't know that yet, but I'm going to reach out. We're going to do another interview because she was my first interview in February of last year, and we're going to do that again. So big shout out to Thrall's Balls. Lore Watch podcast, along with Blizzard Watch podcast. Those guys are making great weekly content between the two shows on all sorts of topics. And yeah, sometimes they meander into lots of Diablo talk, which I don't really care about. But actually, I usually listen because I'm not going to play Diablo, but I think it's just kind of interesting to hear bits of that world and what else Blizzard does. And I love their deep dives into the lore. I have to mention Berserker and Unshackled Fury. I think he is every 2 weeks, and so I might be stepping into Unshackled Fury territory, and I'm humbled to do so because I love listening to him. I love the addition of Jez Corden to that show. So it's news, it's opinions, it's a lot going on. I highly recommend that show as well. Live Laugh Lore is fantastic. We've had Jin on the show here. I still want to get Allie on the show very soon. They have deep dives into lore topics as well. Sometimes kind of ongoing, sometimes jumping around a bit. They're up well over 100 shows, 140 shows. So hop in wherever you want, whatever you're interested in learning about, go find their show and dive into that. I also listen to a lot of the Pig and Whistle podcast, which is again, another one that's almost the opposite of this. It's about 15 minutes, 20 minutes per episode. It is at least once a week, sometimes more often. And it is just sort of a quick recap of things going on and news and a little bit of the weekly information, but it's like small form, short form. If you've got a short commute and you just want a little bit of info, hop into the Pig and Whistle. Azeroth United is another one. I promise I'm getting to the end. I think Azeroth United is my guy Denethar over there has a show that is weekly. Again, I kind of wish that I was putting out weekly content or close to weekly content, but yeah, he's staying on top of current topics, adding a little bit of history to it and experience, having played a really long time. So check out his show. He's on YouTube as well if you want the pictures as well. And there are a lot of others, and I don't listen to, I listen to as many as I can, and I feel bad when there are some out there that I just can't get to. I know there are you may have some other podcasts, and if you've got recommendations for me, I'm certainly always looking for A, more information and entertainment, and B, more inspiration. I do listen to a lot of the art that all these people are making, and try and adapt things and improve this show as best I can. So I don't see it as competition. I'm certainly not out to beat anybody, but hopefully this show is grabbing your ears and you're appreciating it. I thank you for listening this whole first year. It's been amazing. Okay, last thing in the show before we get out of here, kind of continuing the gratitude, but this time way more specifically I found a couple more reviews in the Apple podcast world. A couple of people were nice enough to leave some reviews. One came in early November, but I believe it was after the last episode 15, and I didn't get to it in the interview episode with Lore, but I wanted to read that now. And this is from Mr. Rascalwitz, who left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and says, "I've really enjoyed listening to this show. I love how different the perspective is on this one. Most WoW podcasts have the hosts talking about their heroic or mythic raiding teams and how they almost missed the time on their weekly Mythic Plus 10. Here is a show for folks who have a few hours here and there to explore the world. Also, he literally has bumpers for every segment and game reference.
I am honored. You have my gratitude."
It's a great show. Thank you, Mr. Rascalwitz. I'm glad you're appreciating both the perspective and all those sounds. I enjoyed putting them in there, as I said. Thank you so much for reaching out with that review. And I have a second one that started as a review and then turned into trading some emails, which has been fantastic. It is from Sin, and Sin, wrote a fantastic review and then even better email, and we've traded some emails since then about the show. I'll just kind of read through this review. I found the podcast after returning to WoW after a 10-year hiatus. With the majority of my old podcasts no longer in regular production, I branched out. While the targeted audience is for single-player activities in a massive multiplayer online game, the content is relevant to all players, and content delivery is absolutely top-notch. He kind of goes on to talk about the audio quality, appreciating that. The content is on point, with topics, commentary is enthusiastic, knowledgeable, hopefully, and optimistic. The hopefully is mine, not his. Without being a fanboy. And the Raid of the Month section gives players information on possible rewards and whether the time involved is worth the cost. And sometimes replayed in real time. So yeah, that's fun to do as well. The only knock, and this is fair, that I have on solo queue is the consistency of episode timing. Yeah. Scheduled for monthly release, but not necessarily exactly on time, makes the podcast more relatable. And in turn, more endearing. Well, that's definitely why I'm doing that, not for any other reason. Real information from a real person dealing with real world life is actually refreshing. If you're new to World of Warcraft, or like me, returning after a lengthy absence, I can't recommend solo queue enough. I gave it a shot on a whim, and within a week I binged the entire series on Spotify, listening to several episodes multiple times to share with my family. Great job, Mr. Gagne. I look forward to hearing more solo queue in the future. Well, since he wrote that, there hasn't been a lot of solo queue. I guess we did do the interview episode, so good to get back here to get some podcast episodes out to people who are appreciating it. Thank you to both of you for writing in. Thank you if you want to write a review or a rating on either Apple or Spotify. Both of them will help the show spread to more people, and it really is fun watching the monthly download numbers kind of inch up as more and more people find the show. So share with your friends, if you have friends. It's okay if you don't. Yeah. That's going to do it for 2024. That's going to do it for kind of effectively, I guess we'll think of it as season 1 of Solo Queue. Thanks for being on the ride. Let's kind of get out of here. It does look like our time in the queue is up for this month. I probably need to check into the Siren Isle, but maybe not. We'll see. I've already done my trivia for the day, so there's that. Hey, remember, all the music you hear, all the sounds that you're hearing are the work of the amazing people at Blizzard, so, hashtag don't play muted. And of course, the music taking us out is by Ogre. my friends in the doom metal band Ogre. Check them out. Just hit YouTube and start typing Ogre, Seven Hells. I'm going to send you that album this month. I want to thank everyone who makes this podcast possible, especially my lovely and supporting wife, who is out of the house while I record, and she's waiting to get back so she can run the dishwasher and the washer and dryer and the food dehydrator, all things that make lots of noise. She's very patient. I thank the good folks at Podbean for hosting Solo Q. And hey, if you want to support the show, like I mentioned, you can leave those reviews. If you want to send actual money, we do have a Patreon at SoloQWow, SoloQueUEWOW. Go to the website. Don't do it through the app. That's what I'm hearing from other people about how the phone app stores are now taking a cut of things through Patreon if you do that. So anyways, head to patreon.com/SoloQWow and sign up there. I want to thank current patrons Andrew, Righteous Bandy, That Sky Guy, and Sin. Not just a review, not just a rating, not just a bunch of emails, but he hopped into and became a big contributor to the show. So thank you again, Sin, for all your support. Much appreciated. Thanks also to the free members of the Solo crew, Max, Eddie, Tim, and John. I appreciate it. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me, contact me, reach out to me, SoloQWow, SoloQueUEWOW, at Gmail. That's the easiest way. Questions, feedback, stories, whatever you want to share with me. I'd love to put your thoughts and your tips onto the show. I'm also at that same SoloQWow on Blue Sky, primarily now, and Twitter, along with Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. So you'll see show updates and random life updates every now and then. Hey, good luck with all of your Wintervale and Siren Isle exploits. Get out there, enjoy the game. We can talk about all of it next year when we return for a second season. We'll call this the second season of Solo Q in January, hopefully in our new format. We'll see how it goes. I'll see you out there.